So, the two most valuable things I think in life for anybody are going to be essentially time and love or connection with others. And that could be, I'm sure, looked at from a lot of different perspectives, but I think most people generally would agree that their time is incredibly valuable to them, and that the people and the things that they care about the most are the things they tend to love, or the things that they have a strong bond or connection with. And so, obviously, like, people would say, like, I'm in love with my wife, or I'm in love with my husband or my partner, or whatever the case may be, and they find those bonds to be incredibly valuable and like very deep for them, and they would do anything for those people in their lives, including children, grandparents, most family, for I imagine a fair amount of people. Although maybe that's on the downward trend. I know for myself, my connection with a lot of my family is could be better, to say the least. But everybody's different. And there's been studies that have shown that, like, familial connectedness and people's connectedness to others, like, generally, like, ends up in those individuals having longer livelihoods. They generally tend to be happier. They generally tend to be less stressed. And because of all of those things, we have like a basic understanding that, like, human connection, or just connection in general, is incredibly valuable for most people. And so that's where I say with love that, like, love is one of those things that most people just need in their lives. It's one of the most inherently valuable things for people to have amongst themselves and to be able to share with others. And the other one being time, that I think for me is personally, as much as I wish love was on the same level, like, they are both important to me, don't get me wrong, but, like, time has always been, I think, a very impactful reason for a lot of what I do in my own personal life. And I think it should be for most individuals. I don't like my time wasted. I don't like going to a job, or going to a social event, or going to do something that I feel is not going to be a valuable use of my time. And I think that most people would tend to agree with that assessment. Obviously, you'll go along with friends, or you'll go along with family to certain things that you may not necessarily see as the most valuable version of your time, but you're doing it just for their sake, or to make them happy, or whatever the case may be, and that's fine. That's good. Typically, even in doing that, there's probably a connectedness type of thing. There's like a love connection there. You value that connection, so just being with those people makes up for maybe the loss of what could be perceived as valuable time. If I could not work and get the full use of my time to do things that I find to be valuable, to build connections, to have stronger connections with people, to do things I enjoy more, I would be doing those things. But unfortunately, our societies value, I think that our societies find order to be more valuable in the way that the world is currently, as opposed to trying to perceive a world in which truly values the things that are the most important to making a society function with happy people and productive, and just, fuck productivity, just like to make happy people that want to live in this world. And so for me, I think one of the things that we could be doing is trying to see how is what we're doing valuable time wise. With the advent of AI and robotics only getting more and more advanced with time, there's only going to be more and more jobs and more things that were previously done with, like, human labor, that are ultimately going to be automated. And because of that automation, that means there's just going to be fewer and fewer things for people to do that are, like, seen as inherently productive by today's standards. And so because of that, there should be a shift in which most things should ultimately become free. They just become an inherent part of society. And people should be able to get their time back. And because people get their time back, they should be able to participate in more, like, creative or artistic type of goals in their life, whether it's making music, whether it's dancing, whether it's creating art, whether it's just sitting around and just, doing whatever you want to do. Maybe it's traveling, maybe it's, whatever the case may be. We only have so much time in the world. There's only so much life that we get to live. Maybe one day in the future that will, humans will be invulnerable and live forever, and, great, good for those people. I don't think I'm going to see that in my lifespan, and I don't think many of you are either. And knowing that we have a limited amount of time on this earth, all of that time should be doing things that are seen as most valuable to us. Essentially what I'm saying when it comes to time is that work is a time sink, and work is a means to an end to allow survival. And my survival video will have already kind of come out, but I'm probably going to add an addendum onto my initial video that I've already made. And survival comes before, unfortunately, both love and time, which means that at this point our societies have ultimately failed us, and that the basic foundations of society, being survival, comfort, and joy, our societies are not providing. And because our societies are not providing those things, we cannot find the things that are ultimately most important to us, being love and connection and time. We cannot regain those things. We cannot facilitate those things because the societies we have ultimately decided to be in find other things to be more valuable than what I've already mentioned. And as far as like, the only reason we work is to survive. If we could regain the time from working in pretty much every single circumstance, I think the majority of people would say yes, they would prefer to do that, unless their work is truly valuable to them and they truly find that work to be impactful in their lives, something they enjoy doing, something they want to do. Even still, whenever you're doing something that you enjoy or love, obviously there may come the point where it starts to feel like a job, but that's a different conversation. Yeah, ultimately the point being, two most valuable things, time and love. Everybody should be looking for trying to get as much love as possible, as much time as possible. We should have societies that ultimately engage with people to create love, facilitate love, create connection with others, and facilitate those connections with others. And in the same way, same time, trying to create more time for people, regain time for people, trying to facilitate that people have control over their time, have control over their lives, and what they choose to do with their lives. That's today's video. Appreciate you. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. Ultimately, a lot of these videos, I want to be discussions. I want to have a conversation with others. I want to kind of start trying to facilitate some sort of change in the world of having these discussions with individuals that I don't think that we're having enough. And that's part of the goal of this channel. That's part of my, that's the entirety of my goal of like trying to find the moral core of a lot of the conversations that we're having in the world, and why aren't we having those conversations. And so yeah, please do reach out to me, let me know what you think, tell me how I'm wrong, that's fine, I don't care. I want to have those discussions. But ultimately, thank you, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.